risky business. High stakes horsepower, Ravenna, Nebraska, Gary Behrendt. He's the points champion of a couple years ago. Been to Louisville. Got a number 2 this afternoon. When he goes, if he can go past 330, he'll be in a better position to take the rock, but 343s will take the lead. Oh, yeah. High stakes horsepower. Wow.
Hey, maybe. Now, he got down there, looked like he was going to stop, and he just pulled some extra traction out of his pocket and kept on going.
I like the way he carried that front end, and when he kind of laid it down, he found some speed. Sometimes I like to carry that front end, and then when they put it down, they just run with it. Kind of find that torque and just say, we're not stopping yet.
Yeah, Gary's the 2021 points champion with the high stakes horsepower. Had to beat 377.69. He goes 373.95. Puts him in the number 2 spot.
Does that give us 3 deers sitting 1, 2, 3?
We're going to high stakes horsepower. Gary Behrendt. Now the distance for Green Fever was 331.11. 331 and 11. Gary Behrendt, high stakes horsepower, Ravenna, Nebraska, points champion 2 years ago. Farms for a trade. Oh, he's down there. He is down there, but man, he did not like that little bouncing. You heard that motor surgeon.
The front end came up, and it looked pretty as you please, and right here in front of us, Dave, as he started bouncing, but he looks like he's down there.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to another Tuesday edition of Outlawed Live with Ron Stone, myself, and Mike Idle. Do you prefer Michael or Mike?
It doesn't matter. Whatever rolls off the tongue more easily for you.
Yeah, we'll go with Mike tonight. How about that?
Mike on the mic. That works for me.
Mike on the mic. Green flags and tight chains. That's what winds your watch, Mike.
Yep, that's what pulling's all about, right?
Watching a little video of the Outlaw pulling stars coming on tonight. A couple of second place points winners from this past 2023 season, both going to Louisville, Kentucky in just a few short weeks. Of course, I'm talking about Joe Claypoole of modified four-wheel drive fame and Gary Behrendt in limited pro stock. And Is it 3 weeks away, Mike? Is it that close?
We're down to 3 at this point, and going to be talking about 2 vehicles tonight that are not strangers at Freedom Hall. If I'm correct, both these guys have pulled there before. Especially that 4-wheel drive truck is really starting to figure that Louisville track out. So
they got to keep air in all 4 tires.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about 2022, but 2021 was a big year for them there. They finished top 3.
Yep, did on a track that had kind of gone away a little bit too. So you got to give Joe some kudos there. Yeah, man, we're 3 weeks away from this deal. That's crazy.
We've got championship round, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Louisville. That's how I keep it straight in my mind.
3 weeks. 3 weeks from tomorrow night, we'll be pulling after the 58th National Farm Machinery Show. So we'll have Joe Claypoole on first tonight. We'll have Gary Behrendt on for the second half of the show. I know they're both waiting patiently backstage. Hope you enjoyed that video compilation we put together of both pullers, both former points champions. They both did finish second this year, but both have been at the top of their respective classes. Anything new going on with you, Mike, that you've heard? I know you appear on Let's Grow Pulling from time to time. Or are you a regular Monday night guest now?
Yep, I started doing the Let's Grow Pulling. I don't remember when it was, maybe November. And I think I've been on, it was maybe late October, early November. And I think I've been on there just about every single Monday night since then. So the Pullers Championship is the big thing that everyone's gearing up for there. We're into the top 20 voting. Voting started for the second round of voting at the Pullers Championship. Started last night. A lot of outlaw pullers have already made it into that, and a lot of outlaw pullers are still vying for your votes. So that'll be something that Joe and Eric Claypoole, they're going to be pulling at in May. And I know on social media, a lot of the outlaw pullers are sharing that around. So if you can go out there and vote for them, you've got about 2 to 3 weeks that you can do that. And we'll see if we can get as many of those guys over there as we can.
So, yeah, the voting is about to wrap up on that, right?
Well, the first round has wrapped up. They break it into 2 rounds. And so in the second round, they take the top 20 vote getters for each class. And then all you have to do is vote out of the top 20. And then that will go until it's like the day before Louisville. I think that they wrap that up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you going to Louisville, Mike?
Yep. Yes, I am.
Yep. We discussed that last week. You said,
I'm going to be there helping out Jason and Beer Money and representing the Outlaws in any way that I can. I was kind of told that anytime I wasn't wearing a Beer Money shirt, I needed to have on an Outlaw shirt. So we're going to do the best we can to make sure everybody looks good while we're out there and help out wherever we're needed.
Good policy. Can you see this over my left shoulder? I'm not sure what that is breaking through my W on Outlaw. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. That's weird. That it usually doesn't pick things up that far away, but there, I think I got it now.
At first, I thought it was like long blonde hair, and I didn't know if it was you had company or what was going on back there.
I had a throw blanket there that was kind of light colored, and that was showing through, and then a pillow. So I think I got it figured out now. You know.
Now you're just living on the Outlaw banner. You're good to go now.
I'm in the studio here, so. Let's without further ado here, let's bring on Joe Claypoole and let's pick his brain a little bit. He's waiting in the Macon, Missouri studio. Joe Claypoole, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Now be careful when you say picking the brain. Mine's pretty small.
We'll be delicate. We won't pull any punches here on you. No comments yet tonight, Mike. Wow, that's
Are we live? Did you remember? Are we live? Did we hit the live button?
We are live.
Okay.
Yes. We have been live for a little while. Yes, I made that mistake once. I won't do that again. But
that'd be the
Joe Claypoole. You've been working your tail off, pushing snow and fixing electrical issues the last few weeks here with the weather. What's going on today?
I'm ready for it to all be gone. I can tell you that much.
Truck's ready to go.
It's getting close. Just a few little things. Kind of clean it up. Put new valve springs on before we go down there. We broke a few there towards the end of the season, so we decided to put new ones on.
Not all at the same time, though, right?
What's that?
You didn't break them all at the same time, though, right?
Oh no, just one at a time.
So how long does a set of valve springs last for you?
Well, I would like for it to last for a year, but getting where it doesn't, they won't make it a year. You'll break one somewhere along the line there.
You're talking maybe 30 passes tops, maybe. 35?
Well, that'd be nice. Like, it'd be nice if we could get that. Yes.
Out of a set of springs.
Yeah.
What kind of pressure do you run on the springs in those Sonny's motors?
That's a good question. I can't answer that one.
Okay. All right. I was just curious. I'm sure there's pretty large intake valves on those motors. I'm guessing.
Yeah, they're pretty big, and the springs are pretty tough.
I bet. Kaylee Tuma checking in, saying hi guys. Thanks for tuning. Andrew Sprock. He says he'll be our first comment, but unfortunately, Andrew, you are second. You just missed it. You both came in at 7-11, but Kaylee beat you. So Joe Claypoole, second place this year, and I'm just going to throw some stats at you. And you may not even know what these stats from this season, but I have had the opportunity to go through this stuff. And out of 20 hooks this year, you had 2 wins, 15 top 5 finishes. So out of 17 hooks, you finished in the top 5 out of 20 hooks. Not too shabby, but those Thornton boys had it set on kill this year. They weren't playing around.
Yeah, they definitely wanted to win it. There's no doubt about it.
And they're going to have 3 trucks out this year, Joe. So that's 3.
That's going to be interesting for them. I hope it all works for them. But like I say, we're real good friends with them, and we try to help them as they try to help us.
Yeah, good family. They'll be down there too at Louisville, Kentucky in 3 weeks. Marty Samuelson checking in. 37 here waiting for the 50. Oh, he's talking about temperature out there. It's going to get muddy. Yeah, I'm sure it is going to get a little muddy. All right, now, as far as going to Louisville, what trip is this for you? How many times will this be for the Claypoole pulling team?
I think it's going to be 5.
This will be 5?
I think.
Okay.
Kind of lost track.
Well, I know this will be the 3rd in which I've seen you pull there, but I haven't been to all of the.
We had a little bad luck last year. Like I say, we don't want to talk about blowing tires out or anything. Year before that, we wound up 3rd. I think the other year was 7th or an 8th. One year, then we backed up there. They pulled out to back up there to hook on the sled. And when they put me back in a parking spot, the truck evidently twisted enough that the crank trigger got over against a wheel somehow or another. I don't know how or what happened there. But when we fired it up, the crank trigger wheel was the indicator was hitting the wheel.
Oh, no.
So we got backed up there, and that's as far as it went. So that was kind of a bad year there.
Now, I was there a couple of years ago. You had a late hook. And from what I saw, the track was going away. And you still managed to get 3rd.
We had one spot kind of picked out. Eric kept watching it, and nobody was going there. Nobody was even trying it. And I couldn't believe the time we got our chance to run, nobody had tried that spot. So, he moved the cone for me, and it worked pretty well.
Put you in a good spot, definitely, because the track was going away from what I could tell.
Yes, it usually does.
So jump in here anytime, Mike, if you got some questions.
Yeah, no, so the ones I want to know, you said you've been to Louisville for 5 years. Is that 5 consecutive years, or when was your first trip out there?
I don't remember my first year, but yes, we went. It's been consecutive.
Okay, and so these have all been in the newest body style of the risky business truck. When did you purchase that truck, and kind of talk to us about your old truck and how that's kind of transitioned and changed over the years?
I think we bought this truck in like 13 or 14, and like I say, it used to belong to Cody Lewis,
sure,
which is somewhat a distant relative of mine.
Yeah, this is the old fired up truck, right?
Yes, it's the old fired up truck. The other, my old risky business, it's just parked out there in the shop, and it's just we rob a few pieces off of it every now and then.
Yeah, you had to reacquire that truck, right? You sold it.
And Eric, he's a wheeler and dealer. He sold it to some old boy out on the East Coast, and it wound up down around Virginia, I think, and it was for sale again. So we bought it back.
What year did you start off with that one? It was blue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's still blue. It's still blue. I'm going to say about 1990.
Okay.
Somewhere along in there, possibly.
And then,
It was 1990, I believe.
and you went straight from that truck to the red S10, or was there a gap in there for a little bit?
Oh, there was a little bit of a gap. We were going to take and build and have a new chassis built and put the old body over on that. And that's when Cody decided he thought he was ready to sell. He had 3 boys playing baseball. He said, I can't do baseball and truck pull too.
Yeah.
Rumor mill says that Cody's jumping back in the game here.
I heard that this summer.
That's there's a little truth to that.
Will we see him on the track this season by chance?
Well, he's working on it pretty hard. I don't know how much you'll see him this summer, but we ought to see it a little bit this summer.
Okay. He has a motor and everything and ready to go.
Yeah, he's got a motor. He's got a Sonny's.
All right. Lane Thornton did chime in here. He said, you're a great competitor and a friend, Joe.
Yeah, I see that. And like I say, likewise for them.
And Lori J. Bauer, good luck, Joe, in Louisville.
Gonna need it.
And then Chuck Fowler is asking, are you eventually going to have a 2-truck program?
Well, we sort of have a 2-truck program right now. We'd like to have a bigger motor like what we have in the Risky Business. Got a couple located, but haven't purchased them yet.
Are you talking about the red truck, the S10?
Yeah, the other S10.
It's got a wedge motor in it, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And it's too good a motor to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, everybody's went to Sonny's now or, to the big 800 cubic inch motors. And, it's still a good motor. There's nothing wrong with it. But it just doesn't have enough to compete that well. Right track, right number, you could probably do okay.
Yeah. I could see that. And speaking of the Sonny's motor, Joe, with the Outlaws, were you one of the first to come out with the Sonny's motor, to switch to that power plant?
Ed Miller come out with one, I think, first. Thornton's they had a Hemi, but it wasn't a Sonny's.
Right.
But yeah, I think we possibly were in the group, that we normally run with every weekend. Yeah, I think I might have been the first one.
It's like the standard power plant now. I mean, in the class, if you're not running that Sonny Leonard motor, I mean, you're kind of behind the times, So
that's what I say about that wedge motor that we got, that 4.9. It's a good motor and it makes a lot of horsepower. But when you're talking another 200 or 300 more horse, why that makes a big difference.
Big difference.
So what do you think of the hometown pull this year? I know that, so first of all, are you the promoter of that? Do you have a lot to do with that? And I also saw that it was Co's Super National Pull of the Year. That's got to be something that you guys are proud of.
Yeah, we're so far we've won that trophy almost every year we've had it. But yeah, I'm part of it. I'm not the sole one doing it. It's with the Honor Flight Group, which is out of Columbia, Missouri. My nephew helps, of course. Eric and Caitlin, they help, but we try to do a lot, try to keep the cost down so we can give them as much money as we can.
The kind of the rumor, the musings in the stand this year was this year's show in particular over there at Macon was as good of a show that Macon's had as at any point. I mean, this one was in a really strong showing with what Ron. There was like 100 or 120 hooks there. It was a home run across the board this year. So that was something that the fans were really fired up about.
We threw the semis in there at the last minute within about a week or two there of the pull, and I think that was a real good move.
Yeah, and I think the track really took a lot of power this year and saw some monster passes. We saw, was it George Beyer that went almost all the way down to the steam building, and then you saw the River Rat Modified go with a monster distance before they reset the sled. So, the fans get on top of that kind of stuff too, but it was an absolutely excellent show this year.
Yeah, it was a great show this year. I mean, I was really happy with the crowd, the way a lot of things went. But I think the year before was a little bit better track. It kind of threw some of them for a curve on their gear. And it's like I said, it's almost rocket science trying to make that track be what it needs to be. Certain time, right amount of water, the wind, sun, all that makes a big difference. A few years back, we done one, and it was horrible. Of course, we opened it up a little too soon. It was really dry. And then, when we opened it up, we watered it. And then we got caught with about a 4-inch rain. And that just about killed it. And there was no way to dry that thing up.
I've watched that track since I was a toddler. I've been watching that track since the early 90s. And I swear I've seen it be a power track, a speed track, a power track on the back half. That thing, it is a tricky track, both, I think, to master and to get it just right. So there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get it to where it works for pretty much all the classes.
Yep.
This year wasn't bad. I mean, but I liked the track last year better. I mean, especially in the 4-wheel drive class. It was really, pulling them down, hard. Of course, we had a broken crankshaft in our good motor, so we had the 4.9 in there. We still didn't go low enough gear, and when it decided to kill it, it killed it.
Yeah, this was one of those where the wheels quit spinning before the motor decides it's done turning.
There you go. When that happens, it's a good one.
Yep.
And the 4.9, you're referring to the bore spacing on the wedge motor, right?
Yes, wedge motor.
I'll tell you where there wasn't any traction at Macon was Sunday morning. In the pit area, there was no traction to be had, Mike. I had to get pulled. Joe had to come rescue me and pull me out. Did it rain later that night? I don't remember that. I honestly don't. Early in the morning, yeah.
It rained early in the morning after the show was over.
The only storm memory I have at the Macon Fairgrounds this year was the random Saturday at the Flywheel, which I don't know. That probably doesn't mean anything to you, Ron, but man, we got destroyed with straight line winds this year.
Joe kept coming back with a bigger vehicle. He tried to pull me out with a dually 4-wheel drive, and it wouldn't pull me out. Then he came back with a 4-wheel drive tractor, and then he came back. What'd you come back with? The biggest John Deere they made.
The biggest John Deere tractor, the quad that we had. We had a little hiccup there. I was shifting as fast as I could go.
We don't have to talk about it, Joe.
Oh, okay. We might.
You know what? I was looking at that fence to my left, and that mirror was about that far from that fence, and it was just sliding all over. And next thing I know, I felt a little thump, and I guess that John Deere wouldn't go fast enough for the motor.
No, I couldn't shift it fast enough. It didn't want to acknowledge that I wanted to go faster quick enough.
So Joe, let's go back. Let's go back in time. When did Joe Claypoole get hooked on pulling? How did it happen? When did it happen?
Well, I got hooked on pulling in general in 1973. Now I'm going to start talking about how old I am.
I was 2, just saying.
Well, I was just 15. My dad got me started in it, and in a 15,000 open class, and that's how I got started. And then in 1980 was when I had my first 4-wheel drive truck. I thought that was going to be cheaper than the tractors, which I'm sure it probably is, but it's not cheap anymore. But
big difference between cheaper and downright cheap.
Yeah.
So less expensive, maybe is the word you're looking for.
we used to build a whole motor for what a block and a crankshaft costs nowadays. So that's a big difference in what 1980 was.
Oh yeah,
that's when I got started. I think I won second in outlaw points. I'm gonna say it was probably 86 or 87. I was third, fourth, done everything but win it until 2020. We won it then, and then won it in 22.
Yeah.
So in 86 or 87, you said you won the points.
No, I didn't win them. I got second.
Okay. What motor were you running
the first
then?
Loser.
What was your combination then?
Motor wise?
Yeah.
I was running at that time. I was running a 530 cubic inch motor. I think at that point in time.
Carbureted, I'm assuming.
No, it was. I've always run fuel injection.
Okay.
I've had multiple. I've had the bird catchers before. I've had the Hilburn fuel injection systems. I've had a little bit of all of them.
So a 530 probably. Were the cut tires? We
were running CPEX at that time. Now at that time, that's all you could buy.
How many horsepower were you making in 86?
We thought we was making a lot, probably 800, maybe 900 at the most.
Who won the points that year? If you finished second, I'm trying to rack my brain for who the powerhouses would have been.
John Balster out of Illinois, who won it. Of course, they kind of, if you run in the wintertime, they counted them as points also for the winter shows that they used to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which didn't really. I don't know if it was really quite fair to a lot of people because you had to do a lot of catch up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I like to compare, from back then to now, just to show where technology has improved. The gains in horsepower and everything. Especially around the engines where the horsepower is concerned.
I think transmission wise, I think I was running an old Doug Nash 5-speed at that point in time. And you can only go so fast on the gears on that, or else sooner or later it'd be fast enough. It just it'd split the case or bust the case or do something to it.
Yeah, it's always interesting to hear. Go ahead, Mike.
Speaking of indoor pulling, and this is one we can kind of talk about a little bit. So my first thought was, if you're chasing points against guys pulling indoor, you have to be able to convert your indoor setup to your outdoor setup. And especially back then, a lot of guys would run two entirely different setups. How much do you have to change, if at all, your approach when you're going to Louisville? Do you set the truck up just like any other track pulling outside, or do you got to tweak some things? Or talk to us about the differences there.
I'll change the spring pressure a little bit, but like say indoors versus outdoors, you're if you're on a 250 track, that helps. A lot of times they're just a little over 200. So everything you do has got to be twice as fast or 3 times as fast. I mean, if you think about it a little bit, you're already too late.
The tractor guys say, I've been asking them about this kind of the same question. They say from a driving standpoint, there is no dilly-dallying around when it comes to getting out of the clutch and into the throttle. But on a four-wheel drive standpoint, I mean, that's almost a great way to get into the bounces. So how much does that come into play when you're pulling indoors? I mean, are we dumping with the left foot and throwing the right hand forward, or are we still easing out to a certain point?
Well, I still ease out a little bit because with these bigger motors, if you blow the tires off of, it's kind of like drag racing. When they go, you don't hook them back up. To me, the 650s or the smaller motors, it would eventually hook up on out there so far, but these won't do that. Well, once you blow the tires loose, I mean, I feel like you're done. You can't hardly pedal it like you used to and choke it a little bit and make it hook up. You just can't think that fast and make it work that good.
Right. But do you still have to be a little quicker than you would on an outdoor track?
Oh yeah, you got to be a lot quicker. And at Louisville, your RPM needs to be a little higher. Of course, I still run a pedal clutch. I mean, some guys are coming back to that. There's still a lot of them still running Crowers. And so, I mean, I like the pedal better for being able to adjust to those kind of things. I mean, you can hold it a little bit longer. It just to me, it works overall a whole lot better to me.
I've talked to some of the other, I'll call you veteran pullers, more experienced pullers, and they all have that same sentiment. It seems like a lot of the younger pullers don't like that foot clutch, but the guys who've been in the seat for a long time, they said they want to feel it. That's exactly how they want to drive it.
And you can tell it. You can, as an old truck puller, old Raymond Engelbach from down around Arnold, Missouri, he said you can always feel it in your rear end when you're sitting in the seat. You're going to know when it hooks up, and he's correct. Once you feel that, you don't forget it.
Yep.
So in a four-wheel drive pickup at Louisville, Joe, do you feel the pull to that left side? Does it pull you there?
I really haven't noticed it because most of the time when we've always run to the center or to the left side just a little bit. I've not really had to ever fight it too much down there.
Okay. They always talk about the Louisville left hook, the Louisville left turn there.
Yep.
Just curious if you ever felt that.
Well, I've been very fortunate and been early numbers a lot of times, except for that 1 year, which that helps. That makes a little difference.
Okay. Good deal. Favorite place to pull, Joe?
Oh, my.
Besides Louisville.
Of course, Macon, Missouri would be one of my favorites. We don't have 30 miles to go. I like Wisner. I like Rock Valley. I mean, just because they're nice big 2-day shows and there's lots and lots of competition there.
Most biting track you ever been on?
Well, I'm going to say right out here at Macon was one of them. at the right year. And then this year at Rock Valley, I mean, that was, if you could get started down the track,
Boy, what was it? Was it Saturday night? The Saturday night session. It was. You want to talk about the bounces getting into a class of 4-wheel drives, and it almost came down to your winner circle at Rock Valley this year was going to be the ones who survived it, who made it through the first 150. You guys, I think, hooked kind of early, and I think this was session 3 or whatever it would have been. You drove right through it, if I remember correctly.
Eric did an awesome job. I mean, he come out. He might have been under it just a little bit, but it had to hook too. I mean, there's that fine line. But yes, he done an awesome job. If you watch the video, you can see it. It's almost because the ass end of the truck was trying to hop just a little bit. And usually, that truck doesn't do that. But it made a few 3 or 4 lunges and laid down, and away he went. He made a beautiful pass.
You bring up a good point because, even over the span of 2 different owners, that is true about this truck. It has been consistent. This is one thing that regardless of what memory you pull up, whether it be Outlaw in the past 10 years or ATPA before that, this is not a truck that I think a lot of people can conjure up memories of it, bouncing or getting that rear end up in the air too much. It's been a consistent truck. There's no doubt about that. So
we played with tire pressure.
You got to have good drivers too. So
we played with tire pressure one time. We got a little low. We figured out it will bounce if you get tire pressure wrong.
Right.
Murray Thornton, I think he's answering the question about the most bitingest track you ever been on. I think that one's close to home for them. That is a good track there at Bedford, Iowa.
I wish now when we were there this year because it rained there, I wish we would have. When we had a little meeting, we should have made anybody that was running for points, we should have ran that pull. And, didn't think about that till after we left. I mean, you kind of hate to get in that kind of much mud and everything, but for helping them with their show, we should have done that.
Yeah, that's tough because that track is a good track.
Yes.
I'll tell you another good track was not this past season, but season before that really surprised me, and that was Gibbon, Nebraska.
Yes.
That surprised me. And actually, Mark Ulmer, I heard him say one time that was one of the best tracks. And I thought, what are you talking about? And then in 22, that was a bike.
2 years ago. Yeah, you're right. It was a tough one. And we missed a lot of us missed the gear that we needed right there. But there was a couple boys that figured it out real quick and made the change and won.
Yeah, you don't normally hear the pro stock 4-wheel drives get pulled down to about 6,900 to 7,000 at the end like that. There was a couple of them that pulled them down and about snuffed them there at Gibbon. But, yeah, that was a good track.
Troy's another one that comes to mind. We went to Troy for the first time in several years, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and that was one of the things that stood out to me. It kind of reminds me of Macon. It's got a good amount of clay in it. So, you're either going to kind of slip on top of it or you're really going to dig into it too. But I feel like Troy builds a good track.
Yeah, Troy was a real good track. We've won that. Eric, I think that's where Eric got his first place at was in Troy a few years back. And it wasn't this year, but last year I think I won it, I think. And it can be a mean track too. It can be one of them. If you get into a little bit of a bounce, you can't let it quit.
Looks like a speed track, though. If you get out running and you get the tires sliding just a little bit, it looks like you can really favor getting into it early.
Yeah, you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Andrew Sprock says Unionville's a mean biting track as well.
Unionville's track is improved. I've seen pulls there in the past 10 or 15 years where they really fought coming off the line, just digging into the sand. And then I went back up there for the first time this year. Most improved, I would say, no doubt about that.
I would say, over the years, that's something that a lot of promoters and track owners have educated themselves, and everyone's helping each other out, of course, but there are no real terrible tracks anymore. I mean, you see some old pictures from the 80s, and you've seen these where you can't even see the tractor. There's so much dust, and you think, who was building that track? It's a national event. But you don't see that too much anymore. I'm sure, we get on some tracks that are like, this is terrible, but it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, the promoters and with Kevin Bauer is there, he's trying to get that. He can usually turn, lemons into lemonade, and Ryan Boyson is out there, and Richard Morris, and these guys can build some tracks. But I think for the most part, promoters and organizers have done a lot better job in preparing tracks over the last, I would say, the last decade or so.
Well, and as equipment's improved, now things cost a lot more than they used to. And I think a lot of the pullers have kind of just out of necessity been like, if we're going to hook these incredibly expensive vehicles on here, these professional level vehicles, they're liable to, if we're going to travel this far, we got to hook them on a track that can handle them. So just, it's out of necessity that they've gotten there, which is good for everybody involved, the competition, the pullers, and the fans alike.
So, Joe, are you ready to go? The truck is ready to go. It just needs polished.
Oh yeah, just a little cleaning up. It'll be ready to load.
Good deal. Good deal.
So
any sponsors?
What's that?
Any sponsors that you want to thank while you've got the floor here?
Well, I'd love to thank Outlaws for all the, everything they've done. They've been an awesome group to run with and everything, and all the sponsors that they have worked hard to pick up. There's so many of them, I don't want to sit here and start naming them because I'll forget somebody and then feel like a real dummy because I forgot somebody. But all their big sponsors that they get, it's just, you guys got to take your hat off to those guys. It's of course, I pretty much sponsor myself. We don't have any sponsorship of any kind, basically.
Claypoole Nursery, right? Claypoole
Nursery. That's
okay.
Pretty much it.
So serving the Macon area and central Missouri area there, right?
Yeah, we try.
Mike, did you have a question for?
So I was just going to ask him, because four-wheel drive truck pullers are in such a unique position at Louisville. A lot of guys don't hook till Thursday night, Friday night, and then of course a lot of guys are competing for their finals on Saturday. Wednesday night is your finals.
Yes.
So what's a Louisville experience like? If you do well or whatnot, do you hang around Thursday and Friday and hang out with people?
Like. Depends on what the weather's like. We'll usually stay down there, for the night that we run, and we'll stay a lot of times till Thursday and Friday. And then
sure.
we've had about enough, so we usually start pedaling our little way home.
Would you do you like it being set up that way, or would it be interesting to see a finals on Saturday?
I wish they would do a 2-session deal for four-wheel drive trucks so we can have a final on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many classes anymore. I get it. I'm just glad that we have the ability to go down at least one time for now.
For sure.
Yeah. There was a few years they didn't even have us down there.
Yeah. Well, Joe, thanks for taking the time out tonight. I know you've had a long day, busy day, but I appreciate you coming on tonight.
No problem.
Good luck in Louisville, Kentucky. Several of us will be there cheering you on, and a bunch of us will be cheering you on Outlaw, or not Outlaw TV, but the live stream for the show there in Louisville. And I'll get that address too for folks who want to watch that on the live stream. But Mike and I will be there, and Jason and Kurt and Taylor and a bunch of Outlaw folks will be there cheering you on in the stands. So good luck to you.
I appreciate it.
And have a safe trip down there and a safe trip back, buddy. We'll see you in Louisville.
All right. Thank you.
Best of luck. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Joe Claypoole making Missouri the risky business Chevy, making what he thinks is his 5th appearance at Louisville, Kentucky at the National Farm Machinery Show.
Fifth consecutive, it sounded like, too. It sounded like there wasn't a gap between there. So I look for big things to come out of that truck on Wednesday this year. I really do.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened last year. They were still moving when they blew out that left rear tire. That was unfortunate. But
have you seen that happen in other instances? I've seen tires come off at indoor pulls with tractors, but as far as actually blowing the bead, have you seen that? You're an old four-wheel drive truck puller.
I saw actually a pro stock pickup do it at Cowtown a few years ago. Was Breheim. He got down towards the end. We don't know if it actually ripped through the screws, or if maybe he caught something in the track and it blew it out. Just not sure. Seen that happen once before. Actually, take that back. Saw it happen on a 2-wheel drive truck in Hays, Kansas one time. A buddy of mine's truck. It usually shreds those tires when that happens. But good luck to Joe Claypoole this year. We're gonna We're going to go to our next guest here. I know he's been waiting for a while. Backstage here, Mr. Gary Behrendt. How you doing, Gary?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Just
good.
fine.
Now, you're from Ravenna, right?
Yep.
Ravenna, Nebraska. Second in points this year. Champion in 2021, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And I've got stats here. I came prepared tonight, Mike.
He's also proudly displaying what looks like a couple of Thunderbolts back there too. So I like the way that we've got those.
Yeah.
You know, so winning the bolt at Thunder by the River a couple of times, it looks like.
Just once. I was hoping I should have had one maybe back in 21, but
No, that was from this year, wasn't it?
Yep.
This past year? Okay. From 2023. So 1 win on the season, 14 total top 5 finishes out of 23. Got you second place in the points this year. Runner up to the side piece there, which he's pulling down in Louisville as well. Gary, when did you start pulling? When did you get hooked? How, where, and how old were you?
I started farm pulling back in, I think my first pull was back in 1983 or 84, I think. Took 1066 farm tractor to a local percentage pull. And then, there's a bunch of us ran kind of brush pulled or whatever, went to local towns, had 806 that pulled a lot. I sold it to the Bradleys at Ravenna, and then later it got sold to Brad Campbell, which he campaigned with the Outlaws there and got second in the points with the Light Limited Pro.
Okay.
And then, I'm trying to remember what year. Bought a 1066 from Darren Sutton. Campaign out, I think got that around 2000 and ran that with Nebraska truck and tractor pullers. I'd occasionally hook with the Outlaws, even though it was mainly a 466 back then, cubic inch, so like a Light Limited Pro. But then I ran that set up till 2007 or 8. Let's see, 7 or 8, and then we put twin turbos on it and ran diesel super for about 3 or 4 years with that.
Oh, how did that go? How was your experience in the diesel superstock class?
Oh, it was fun. We had some gremlins in it, but
I think that's pretty common in that. That's pretty common in that class.
Big hole in the block. Let's put it that way.
Not all that unexpected in that class, Gary. I mean, that's crazy. The kind of pressures they're pushing.
No, Mel Nelson with the senseless, or not the senseless, the old 10. He's still running the turbo combination. And Mel did my engine work back then on the red one, and so we did some horse swapping, and that's they're doing well with that setup. So.
I'm taking some notes here, and I'm hearing 1066, 806, 1066. Buddy, your tractor's green. I'm a little confused. So did we? Where did we decide to make this shift? Was this shift in classes, or did this have to do with a loyalty here, or we went from what looks like a lot of red to some John Deere green?
Well, we grew up red when I was a kid. That's what my dad had, and then about the mid '80s, red dealership in Ravenna closed up. So then we started switching over, and ended up we're pretty much farm with all green stuff now. So just an evolution of the times and what comes around. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In my hometown, there was an Oliver dealership and an Alice Chalmers dealership. Well, you don't see much orange or the green and cream anymore either. So a lot of it has to do with who comes in, and as my buddies tell me, where you can get parts. They said we'd like to farm with this color or that color, but as long as the green store's around here, that's where we get our parts. So just kind of a development of how things go. When did you get into the current tractor you have? I believe it was probably around 17. A friend of mine, Dave Mites, he was I was riding with him back to Gene Sharbour or Brent Payne at GMS, and I was going to have him build me a new power plant for the 1066, and we ended up BSing there, and he was trying to sell me the color of money at that time, and I said that's more than I didn't have that knowledge or wanted that thrill. And
though that tractor did find its way back to your home state, if I'm right.
You are correct, and that's how Brent took Scott Holtger's Super Farm tractor, the in for trade. So I traded my 10 for Scott's little Super Farm, and that's what this is right now.
Huh. Do the Super Farms that looks like this, and I was having this conversation with one of my friends earlier, do the Super Farms jump up to the 4.1 pretty easily? Do they go for, to that limited pro stock class? Can you convert those pretty easily is what I'm trying to say?
Oh, I'd say yes and no. Mm-hmm. It's I think you're gonna have to make more changes than, cam wise and, cubic inch wise. Yes,
yeah.
You're there, but it's a lot of other stuff's got to change.
Not as simple as taking off a 3-inch turbo and slapping on a 4.1 inch turbo and adding 200 pounds and calling it good.
Right.
That sounds logical to me. I mean,
yeah, that's.
So Gary, how many times have you been to Louisville? This is going to be your second time?
Yep, second time.
Okay.
Didn't do the best in 20. Well, it'd been 22
after the 21 season.
Yeah, and
what did you
try to do better? Try to.
Were you surprised by the track?
It's a whole different. Oh yeah, yep. And everybody said use low gear. Well, heard a couple people say, "Oh, don't pull that hard." Well, no, you need to use low gear.
That answers my next question. I was going to say, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself? You'd say, grab that other one and shift down a little bit.
Right. But now you got in back of your mind, you're hoping that your low gear is going to be low enough. So
this Cole Behrendt character, you know him, Gary. He's
yep.
He's talking about the tractor. He said it's used to be Scott Holtger's Deer Stroyer.
Yep, that's my son.
Yeah, I know. I'm just giving him.
He knows more than I know. Well, he remembers more than I know. How about that?
Fellow John Deere puller Tim Dunclaw saying good luck in Louisville, Gary. So what do you do different, if anything, to prepare for Louisville specifically?
Just trying to find as much horsepower as you can, and I don't know.
Is the tractor ready to go right now?
We're pretty close.
Okay. Who does your engine work these days?
What's that?
Who does your engine work these days?
Oh, Joe Bush Ag Repair.
Yeah, Ag Repair. That's a pretty common answer to that question in Nebraska and Iowa. There you go. Marty Samuelson chiming in. He says Cole's a great kid. You know Marty Samuelson out there in Ravenna?
Oh yeah, known Marty for a long time.
We call him a super fan. He watches every Tuesday night.
He's dedicated.
Big fan of pulling. So
go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to ask you, other than Louisville, do you do much other indoor pulling?
No, I don't really have the desire to. I guess it is a lot of work. I don't know what Mark Roberts, he hauled me down there back in 22, and of course Mark's there. He knows how everything works, and Mark and Brett, they're great, helped me out, and it's just a lot of work. You gotta, if you don't make it, you gotta go drain your water, and it's cold out, and you gotta get everything packed in, and it's more work than what one thinks. Let's put it that way.
One of the interesting things that some of the people have been talking about is once you get your smoke tube built, a lot of people say, you know, they listen for RPM as much as they watch the dash for RPM, but they say between the smoke tube and the big vacuum and everything, you cannot hear the RPMs in the tractor coming to life the way that you would at an outdoor pull. Would you agree with that statement, or is that not something you've noticed so much?
I would agree. Like I said, I've only had one indoor hook, and but I don't know. You still got kind of like what Claypoole was talking about. You got the feel. You know what I mean? You put the throttle down, and you're going to know when it's time to go.
They talk about the tractor sitting down. When it sits, they know that it's about ready to hook.
Yeah, you kind of know where your throttle, and you know we got quite a few hooks in through the season.
Yeah.
What night are you pulling, Gary, on the schedule?
We're on Thursday night.
Thursday night. Okay.
Yeah, me and Jamie are on Thursday, and George is on Friday.
You got to finish in the top what to advance?
I think it's 3.
Is it 3 or 6? It depends on how many they're taking. I couldn't remember. So yeah, with your class, it'd probably be 3 if there's multiple sessions before Saturday. Yeah, you'd have to finish top 3.
6 in the pull off, I think.
Right. So they're going to take 3 out of
3 and
3 out of each night, and then put 6 on Saturday.
Russ Dostal said you came alive in Wisner, was awesome to see. I think at least one of those videos that I started to show with was from your run at Wisner, which obviously you had a couple of good runs. You won the Thunderbolt Award there.
Wisner was that was probably couldn't have went any better than that. Well, had some troubles. I don't know if you guys remember, but Thursday night the clutch went out on the end of the run, and we had to halt. We left Thursday morning or Friday morning early, and went over to Joe Bush's, and he had the parts, and Joe and Kyle and Mark, they were waiting for me, and we split it, and we got a clutch put in that day, and we got back to Wisner Friday to finish watching the last half of the Diesel Supers. So that weekend wouldn't have happened without all the dedication from the Joe Bush team.
Joe Bush Ag Repair. He's pretty popular up there. He does a lot of good work. When you're going to Louisville this year, are you taking the whole crew? How many folks you taking with you?
It'll be me and my wife Angie, and then Cole and good hired man Leo. So there'll be 4 of us down there.
Awesome. So if you get bumped out the first night on Thursday night, do you head back home, or do you stay the whole weekend and hang out?
Oh no, I'm going to stay and support everybody else. So we got tickets and rooms for the whole deal. So.
I love that answer. Louisville, it's such a, everyone wants to win. Anytime you're hooking anywhere, you want to come home with the hardware. But just by being at Louisville, you've kind of already won. So it's kind of like if you're going to go to Louisville, get the whole experience, hang around, help your neighbors out, cheer for all the pulling. I like it when people say that they're in for the long haul there. That's, and that's nothing to take away. People have got stuff to do if they need to come back home. But, if you can be there, that's, soak it up as much as you can for sure.
Well, me and cousin Bill Behrendt, and he'd always get a bunch of us together. We'd go down to Louisville. We started in the 80s, and you go and watch that many times. It was, I couldn't believe I was down on the track down there. That was, I wasn't even mad at myself how I finished it. It was just quite an experience.
I was going to ask that question when they were pulling you down that ramp, Gary. Did it hit you at that point when you were coming out into the lights, coming down that ramp? I mean, how did that feel?
Well, that's pretty cool. But, when they do their all this, what is it, Syngenta deal or whatever, right before the national anthem, that almost about gets you, about breaks you up. So
was there a point as a fan sitting up there in the stands in the 80s or 90s or 2000s where you kind of said to yourself, I'm going to be pulling down that track one day. Was this something you looked at and said, I'll be there before it's all said and done?
Well, I hoped I could be, but it wasn't an actual real goal, but it did come together. So it has been a dream.
Yep.
And like I said, took a lot of people, a lot of help, a lot of friends, even current competitors, that make this all happen. We all get along good, we really do.
Gary, watch out for stowaways before you leave Ravenna. Marty Samuelson says he's going to sneak in the trailer there, so be careful of that.
That might be a little cold.
So, I mean, Ravenna is kind of a small town. Is that kind of a big deal there that, one of Ravenna's own is going to the National Farm Machinery Show pulling championships? Do people talk about it in town there?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. It's we got a lot of support for the tractor pull, so it's anybody puts on a tractor pull as a puller, you really appreciate everybody else's pull because you know how much work they put into it. So
Gary, anybody that you want to thank that could be sponsor or just folks that helped you out on the tractor?
Don't really have any sponsors except for, myself and my family. But naturally, Joe Bush Ag Repair, Joe and Lori and Mark and Kyle and Hoop, they're all there to help. Competitors, Craig Yonke, Dave Novak, George Byers helped me a lot, during the polls and right before the poll, whatever. George is really good rancher. So there's a reason he won the points. He deserves it. So
did you say
Lauren Paulson, that whole family, they're also great, just about everybody.
Did I hear you say Hoop in there? Hoop?
The one who breaks the front tires off of tractors,
Other people's tractors. He's kind of an international pulling star. He just goes all over the world driving people's tractors, I think.
Yeah, he's a good egg.
Well, he didn't do anything that Paulson wouldn't have done on the tractor because he broke the front end on it too at least one event this past season.
Yeah, he gave her a good whirl. But
well, Gary,
no, and like I said, Mel Nelson was
okay.
probably the one, and Lyle back in the day. I don't know if you remember Lyle, but them two were good inspirations. And there's so many guys you looked up to. There's a lot of Grand National NTPA polls back in Nebraska. Well, not a lot, but Hildreth, Nebraska used to be huge.
Yep, heard of it.
We'd go there when I was in high school, and Nebraska State Fair. Lincoln used to have a great, remember watching the banners and Gardner Stone and, that pretty cool watching all them legends and all
you can catch some of that on YouTube still, like the Hildreth, Nebraska poll. I've watched that on YouTube.
Yeah.
There are videos of those polls out there archived. So Neil Neidig said he's went his first year and he's going back this year. Do you have T-shirts or any things you're selling when you're there, Gary, by chance?
Yeah, we'll probably bring what we got. So they're kind of we updated the side shield design a little last year, but we got to get these old ones sold out before we dive into any more. So.
Okay, good deal. So folks can buy a T-shirt or a hat or a hoodie. But Gary, thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for taking the time out. I appreciate it. Mike and I are going to be there cheering you on this year, along with the other outlaw pullers. So good luck to you. Have a safe trip there, and we'll see you in 3 weeks, my friend.
Well, thank you guys. You do a great show, and I know it takes a lot of dedication work for you guys, so appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
Awesome. I forgot to ask Joe Claypoole if he had souvenirs and stuff to sell, but fans always like to know when they can win and where they can pick that stuff up. So
there's like a special group on Facebook I got invited to join. It's called like Geared Up or something, and people literally just collect and show all the different pulling memorabilia they have, and it's really neat. You see some of these people pulling some of the old stuff out from the the 80s and 90s and the USHRA or the TNT stuff. So that's really cool to see.
I tell you what, I got something I'm going to show you here. Give me just 1 second. Talk to the folks for a minute.
Yep, I can talk to them. So if you haven't voted for the Pullers Championship, go over and do that. A lot of outlaw pullers that can still be voted for. Also, if you saw me leaning off to the screen tonight, thanks for bearing with me. It's bachelor night in the Idle household, and my 5-year-old was in desperate need of some goldfish. So that's what we kept leaning over to get those snacks taken care of. Ron's got some...
I don't know if it'll show
vintage. I never know what word to use. Vintage, historic. I say that looks like Art Arfon's.
That is
right there.
That was, I think, one of the first hero cards.
Oh, no kidding.
It's just a piece of paper. This is the original piece of paper. You can't see how yellowed it is, and it's pretty rough. I have made a copy, but this was from, I think, 74.
Yeah, that's pre Green Monster for sure. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was. I have all kinds of memorabilia from the 70s and 80s and the 90s.
Dad's got a few of the. Well, there was a couple of those magazines, and I always get. He's got a few of the old pullers, and then what was one called The Hook? Well, I don't remember whichever one was newspaper style. We flip through that about every time we go up to the house for Christmas. But vintage pulling stuff is really neat. There's a whole place you can put that on Facebook these days.
Yeah, well, the puller I think was black and white for a long time, and then eventually went color. But full pull felt like newspaper style.
Yeah.
Inside, and then in the 80s there was Pulling Power magazine, which I have every issue of that. Thanks to Dan Mayer for selling me the 2 issues that I didn't have to complete that collection.
Dan Mayer, he's kind of the name when it comes to, like, if there was a professor of pulling history and contemporary issues, he would be the one. He is the Wikipedia of tractor pulling.
So lucky on that deal, Mike, because I needed those 2 issues, and he had like 5 issues for sale, and I think they were extras for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to have those 2 issues that I needed. And I got those from him. It's been 4 or 5 years ago or something.
That's awesome. So you've got the whole collection then.
Whole collection, but I even have some that have some autographs in them. So
that's neat. That's really neat. Yeah, no doubt about it. So,
but just want to take a quick moment here to recognize our sponsors. I'm trying to do that every week now. So
sure.
Of course, Case IH, the title sponsor of the Outlaws. Case IH back on board for 2024. Titan Farm Tires and maker of Goodyear Farm Tires. DeKalb Asgrow. DeKalb, the official seed corn of the Outlaws. Coltrane Energy, Missouri-based company. Frosted Frog, Coolers and Tumblers, VP Racing Fuels, Holganics Midwest. I had them in here. Where the heck did they go? There they are. Now that's just up in the corner. I got to get a new one for them. I had a big backdrop for them, and I'm not sure where it's at. But big thanks. There it is. There it is. I knew I had it there. Holganics Midwest, put life back in your soil. Of course, a lot of our farmers in areas where we pull are using this product, and it is working. So big thanks to all the sponsors, all the folks using those products that help the Outlaws out. So another Tuesday night gone. We're a little over time here, but it's not that big a deal, Mike.
That was the most conveniently placed sponsorship ads of my life. The boys and I are batching it at home tonight, and as you were running the sponsors to where my screen was covered up, I had both of them running in here begging for goldfish. So that could not have timed out more conveniently. They've been watching the iPads. I said they had to stay next door in the next room for an hour, and that I think they're getting antsy. So, but yeah, big thanks to Holganics Midwest, not just for what they do agriculturally, but for giving me something to hide behind while I tended to my 2- and 5-year-olds' needs.
Yeah, they are pulling fans too, so they're willing to help us throughout our season. We're lucky to have them. So, Mike, thanks for coming on with me again tonight. I appreciate it. Hopefully you come back on next Tuesday. We'll get some more guests, some pullers from the Outlaws that are headed to Louisville. But we'll end the show with some videos from our guests tonight. Big thanks to Joe Claypoole from Risky Business, Modified Full Drive, and of course Gary Behrendt from his John Deere called what the heck is it? I'm having a brain fart.
High stakes horsepower.
High stakes horsepower.
High stakes horsepower with the kind of the Vegas theme on the side. It's a beautiful tractor. It's a great looking tractor.
I got caught reading and trying to think of something else at the same time, and it messed me up there. You ever have that happen?
Well, that's why I don't chew gum when I come on this show. I can barely chew gum and think at the same time. So, I've got to keep it straightforward and clear, So
thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Joe Claypoole, Gary Behrendt. We'll see y'all next Tuesday at 7.
High stakes horsepower, Ravenna, Nebraska, Gary Behrendt. He's the points champion of a couple years ago. Been to Louisville. Got a number 2 this afternoon. When he goes, if he can go past 330, he'll be in a better position to take the rock, but 342s will take the lead. Oh, yeah. High stakes horsepower.
Wow.
Hey, maybe.
Now, he got down there, looked like he was going to stop, and he just pulled some extra traction out of his pocket and kept on going.
I like the way he carried that front end, and when he kind of laid it down, he found some speed. Sometimes
we're going to high stakes horsepower. Gary Behrendt. Now the distance for Green Fever was 3:31.11. 3:31 and 11. Gary Behrendt, high stakes horsepower, Ravenna, Nebraska, points champion 2 years ago. Farms for a trade. Oh, he's down there. He is down there, but man, he did not like that little bouncing. You heard that motor surgeon.
The front end came up, and it looked pretty as you please, and right here in front of us, Dave, as he started bouncing, but he looks like he's down there.
Ryan and Mark.
High stakes horsepower.